Bienvenue, les aventures de Frank et Ben. Troisième série, Frank and Ben go back to Perkins on a Greyhound bus. Septième histoire, Frank and Ben go back to Perkins, part 17. It didn't take too long before Madame Provost, Geneviève, and Minot were satisfied to leave Ben behind with the luggage and accompany Frank to the terminal cafeteria. After all, it was easy to see that he wanted nothing more than to continue reading the book on UFOs that Madame Provost had given him while Frank was outside with the two young women waiting to take their luggage off the bus. What a surprise it was to him when she handed him the book all wrapped up as a birthday present, as a birthday gift. When he expressed his amazement over the fact she had remembered today was his birthday, she explained to him that her son had reminded her of it when he called her the day before from the little town called Wolf Point. Wolf Point! Exclaimed Ben excitedly. That's the place where there was a recent UFO sighting. Yes, I know, Madame Provost replied. I hope you'll find some account of it in the book I've just given you. Without waiting another second, Ben tore open the present and greedily cast his eyes on the title of the book, which was of course about UFOs and other unidentified phenomena. Then he studied carefully its front cover with the aerial photo of a large circle of flattened out spruce trees in the Canadian North. Then he quickly opened the book and looked to see if there was an account of the UFO sighting near Wolf Point. The bus had passed through this little town only 16 hours before, and Ben had spent nearly 20 minutes looking around the town for some information on this sighting. This is totally amazing, he kept repeating to himself as he flipped through the book and continued to look for the Wolf Point sighting. After finding only one small reference to it, he then explained to Madame Provost how he had first learned about the Wolf Point sighting. It was the 10-year-old boy with the Asterix comic books who had first told him. He in turn had learned about it from an old man who had been sitting beside him on the bus for a couple of hours and then got off just before they got to Wolf Point. Before Ben could say anything more about what the old man had told the 10-year-old boy, or what he himself had found out while in Wolf Point, or for that matter, why this sighting wasn't given more attention in the UFO book, Frank interrupted their conversation by bringing Geneviève over to meet his mother. Now Ben sits by himself on a bench and continues to read this book. Not far away from him is all the luggage of the two young women. Everyone has gone to the cafeteria and Ben is alone. However, he is not put out by this in the least. He is too absorbed in his book to feel alone or feel that he has been abandoned. He reads with the greatest attention such accounts of UFO sightings and other unidentified phenomena as the following. UFO sighting in Colorado, December 4th, 1994. 5 people driving down Highway 13 were chased by mysterious, low-flying lights. Losing control of the car, they ended up in a farmer's field. Hiding then in this field, which had stalks of corn growing high over their heads, they were able to peer up through the stalks and see the overhead lights arrange themselves in the shape of a triangle, then disappear. April 20th, 1997. Jason Sludchuck, going out to his garage at 5 o'clock in the morning, saw a little green man perched on the very top of his house. Dangling above him was a golden ladder, which, after gazing down intently at the young Sludchuck, he proceeded to climb until he reached a shimmering, radiant cloud hovering about 100 feet from the ground. Out of the cloud, he then sped away on some vehicle which, unfortunately, Sludchuck couldn't identify. He told a local newspaper reporter that it resembled nothing so much as a flying snowmobile. July 14, 2002. A wild teenage party was suddenly stopped in its tracks by the sighting of a strange-looking object in the backyard not far from the swimming pool. It was described as being completely black, about 12 feet high, shaped like an obelisk, and as hard as a tombstone. Furthermore, the object began to emit a very high-pitched sound which terribly afflicted the ears of the teenagers. Strangely enough, it didn't bother an 83-year-old man, his 2 young grandchildren, and the dog Chowdy. All of these people, including the dog, were next-door neighbors and came over to investigate. Some people later claimed that it was a plot by another neighbor to break up the party, since he had complained several times before about these wild goings-on. However, further investigation disproved this theory. It is these accounts and others that so fascinate Ben, because he is convinced that all these sightings of UFOs and other unidentified phenomena cannot be dismissed as mere hoaxes or wild flights of the imagination.